Hey everybody, it's Jason from the Texas Gun Vault, and today I'm coming to you with another range report. And today's range report is on the CZ P-09. This particular example is not from my personal collection. It is from one of my local subscribers and Patreons, Paulo, who has been so generous to lend the channel, I think now 7 firearms for me to review and do range reports on guns that I don't own, never shot, but wanted to shoot. This one's really special to me because this is the only model that was part of the XM17 trials that I do not own. I have the Beretta APX, of course the SIG 320, all of the other entries that were into, I think, the Glock 19X and so forth. I just didn't own a CZ P-09. So to shoot this and kind of see, is this something I really want to add to the collection, has been a real treat. This is obviously a CZ made in the Czech Republic, but the P-09 is a polymer framed firearm versus an all metal frame firearm like I have in my SP-01 Tactical. So this was the entry, as I mentioned. It's a very attractive firearm, but you can definitely see the influences of the CZ75 platform. It does have the inverted rails, which the same pros and cons that I've mentioned in other videos apply to this pistol as well. And that is, for a polymer framed handgun, the slide to frame kind of lock up and fit is extremely tight. There is no wobble, there is no play in that, and that's just because of the inverted rails. But the downside, of course, is the limited amount of area you have for serrations on the slide to grab it and to rack it and to manipulate the slide. That's the same complaint I have on all of my other CZs. It is not a deal breaker, but you just have to get used to it because, as I mentioned before, if you're shooting a Glock, you like to get your hand way over that slide. To rack it here, you just don't have as much area to purchase on it and rack that slide. It's not really that big of a deal. You just got to be aware of it. And I think the more I shoot CZs, the easier that's becoming, and it's becoming a little bit more natural for me to just go, oh yeah, don't over grab the slide and grab the frame. So this is also a hammer-fired gun, and I like that a lot. I've always kind of associated hammer-fired guns as like manual transmissions in cars versus automatics. While there are definite advantages to striker fired, being a little bit more consistent, I think, in the trigger pull. But the hammer fired, you feel a little bit more in tune with the gun. Now, some people are probably going to disagree with that, but there's something visually, there's something mechanically about the gun. You just feel a little bit more in tune with it. And I think the way that the trigger can feel and the expectations of how the trigger is going to fire is a little bit more natural to me. But I do like striker fired handguns, so please don't construe what I'm saying as hammer fired is best or this or that. These are just my personal opinions. But I do like the hammer fired pistols a lot. The only thing that Paulo has changed out on this firearm is the trigger. He went with a Cajun Gun Works Omega trigger. And it has definitely improved the trigger based off of what I can tell from my SP-01 Tactical. Now, this is a very common upgrade that many people say that if you really get into CZs, you want to put on your guns, which is, as I said, the Cajun Gun Works Omega trigger. But after getting it to the range, I do have an issue with it. The trigger pull in double action is very light, so I just want to safety check the gun there. So the double action, and I'll show it on camera here. The double action is very, very, very light, very impressive. There's not really a lot of take up. It's not a lot of energy needed. It breaks pretty clean. And then in single action, the trigger is extremely light. You kind of pull it back, and this is my problem with it, is that I don't really feel the wall. Like right there is where the wall is, but it doesn't feel like I'm breaking a glass rod. It just kind of falls. It's not light. I just cannot feel that wall and that break, and I cannot predict it very well. And I felt that the couple of times at the range when I really pulled my shots, it was because of that trigger, because I was mainly shooting in single action. I really would like to try this though with the stock trigger. I really personally kind of like duty triggers. I know that sometimes they can be a little bit grittier, they have a little bit more slop in them, but they feel a little bit more mechanical, and for me, they're a little bit more predictable. So while, as I said, I would not turn this down and go, okay, maybe I'll, you know, if I bought a CZ and someone gave me a Cajun Gun Works trigger, I might install it. But I really think I may like the stock CZ trigger a little bit more. But as I said, this is one of the most common upgrades that people do with their CZs. This version also has a decocker only on the lever, which is ambidextrous. I do know that there's a version of this that has a safety, which I would actually want because that would be a little bit closer to the original trials gun for the XM17 program. Magazine capacity, I believe, is 20. I think it was 19 or a 20. It doesn't say. The witness hole only goes to 15 on this one, but it definitely holds more than 15 rounds. I want to say it's 19 or a 20. But so it's a pretty big capacity for the standard magazine in these firearms, which I actually really like about the CZs. Their magazines seem to be very well designed and very efficient when it comes to storing ammunition. You don't have a lot of wasted space. They utilize everything in the magazine to give you the maximum capacity possible. One other complaint, okay, I'm gonna pull that one back. I'm not even gonna say it's a complaint. Something that was unexpected when I shot this at the range was the recoil impulse. I'm going to say this, I don't know if this is going to make sense to a lot of people that haven't shot a lot of 9 and 45. The recoil impulse of the P-09 feels a little bit more like a 45. The slide is big and this handgun is kind of long. And I don't know if it's the mass of the slide, which slows down relatively quick, or what. It feels like a 45. A 45 auto feels more like a thud to me. It's definitely a slower round, and you feel a little bit more inertia, but it's not as snappy. A 9, however, you feel the action move a lot faster, and it comes back into your hand, and I've always felt like you get a little bit more muzzle flip. This feels like a 45, and it really surprised me. As I mentioned, I think it has to do with the weight of the slide and the length of the slide. So if I was blindfolded, and by the way, I would not recommend doing this, but if I shot this gun and let's say a CZ SP-01 or something like that, or the CZ-75 standard, I would definitely have assumed this was a 45 handgun. If I could not see it and handle it and just pull the trigger, it just felt like a 45. Now, is that, I said, a complaint? No, it's not a complaint. In fact, I like the recoil impulse of a 45. It just feels slower and heavier versus lighter and snappier. Both are completely manageable. It's just not what I was expecting. And that actually took me a couple of magazines to get used to. Just to getting the gun back on target, I kind of felt, I guess I was expecting more of like a Glock 17, Glock 19, or Beretta 92 kind of a feel. I kind of know my timing on that. This one took me a little bit longer, just because of that recoil impulse. So I don't know if anybody else has had that kind of experience with this, or that kind of thought, or even know what I'm talking about. But it feels like a 45. Now, this is the most accurate handgun I've ever shot from CZ. It outshoots me. I know when I started the video today, I showed a lot of targets that were close up. But let me tell you, at the very end, and I should have filmed it, I had the target back as far as I could in the range, which at my range is 25 yards. And the grouping at that range was excellent. The gun makes me look like I'm a way better marksman than I actually am. So for that, I'm very appreciative. So the performance of this gun has just been outstanding. I have a couple of like weird complaints, but not even, as I said, they're not even complaints. You know, the inverted rails with a smaller purchase, and the feel of it's a 45 versus a 9, even though it's a 9. Those aren't even complaints. You know, it's just, they were just different. So that's all it is. It's just new and different, and sometimes that can be really good. And it's just something that you have to get used to. So, so overall, performance, outstanding. Aesthetics, outstanding. Fit and finish, outstanding. I was really excited to shoot this example. So, Overall, on my little star rating, what do I think? This gun is 4.5 stars out of 5 as it sits because of the trigger. I'm going to say this again. Every time I give a gun 4.5 stars, they go, I can't believe you deducted half a star for whatever, or, you know, a little complaint here or there. It's not that whatever I complain about is worthy of taking a star away. I always say that a 5 out of 5 star review must be an exemplary product that exceeds my expectations. This one I already had high expectations for, and it met all of those expectations. I was not disappointed in any way, shape, or form. I just would like to feel it with the stock trigger, but that would be it. So 4.5 stars out of 5, and let me tell you, this is a gun I'm going to get for my personal collection. I just got to find the right one. I like to find one with the safety, and I like to find one that is in flat dark earth, maybe urban gray, but the flat dark earth, anything that I can get that's as close as possible to the trials gun for the XM17 program, and then I'll have everything. I'll have every gun that was an entrant into that program. So that's it. So there you go. The range report on the CZ P-09 Tactical in 9mm. These are just my thoughts and just my opinions. You guys are welcome to disagree, and that's okay. We can still be friends. So there you go. So do you guys have a P-09? You have a P-09 Tactical? Do you have one with a safety? What do you guys think about the recoil impulse? I would love to hear your thoughts. So let me know if you have any questions in the comment section below. And as always, thanks for watching.